Gaul can be considered a representative term for France. This word originated in ancient Greek times and was widely used during the Roman period, with a history spanning over 2,000 years. Geographically, the Gallic region roughly corresponds to modern-day France and Belgium. In ancient Europe, there were three major ethnic groups: the Celts, Germans, and Slavs. Historically, the Gauls were a branch of the Celtic people, and the Gallic language was a branch of Celtic languages. However, the name France originally meant the land of the Franks, who were a Germanic people. This might sound confusing with all these connections. So what exactly is the relationship between France and Gaul? And what is the connection between Gaul and the rooster? Why do French people today define their spiritual totem as the Gallic Rooster? Over 2,000 years ago, European civilization was centered mainly on the Greek and Italian peninsulas. Most other regions were transitioning from primitive society to slave society, with civilizations far less developed than Greece and Rome. North of the Alps lived three major ethnic groups, as mentioned earlier: the Celts, Germans, and Slavs. Their economic development was relatively low, leading Romans to call them the three barbarian peoples. The Celts were divided between those living on land and those on islands. The Celts who lived in what is now France were called Gauls, while those near the Alps in modern-day Switzerland were known as Helvetii. Starting in 590 BCE, the Romans established their republic. Initially, the Roman Republic mainly comprised the Italian peninsula, while the Po Valley north of the peninsula was still occupied by Gauls and other tribal peoples. The Gauls and Helvetii to Rome's north coveted the republic's wealth and frequently raided southward, leading to numerous conflicts. In 390 BCE, the Gallic leader Brennus led his army south to invade Roman Republic territory. Over the next 100 years, the Gauls took advantage of Rome's preoccupation with wars to occupy significant Roman territories from their alpine positions. In 2001 BCE, after defeating their southern rivals, Rome began attacking the Gauls in the north. The Romans and Gauls engaged in multiple back-and-forth battles, with both sides experiencing victories and defeats. The Romans, with their advanced weapons, captured much of Gallic territory. However, the Roman Republic could never fully occupy all of Gaul. In 58 BCE, under the leadership of Caesar, then the Republic's primary commander, Rome launched the Gallic Wars. After 8 years of warfare, by 50 BCE, Gaul was defeated by the Roman Republic, and the entire region became part of Rome. We all know that the Roman Republic's symbol was an eagle. After conquering Gaul, Caesar believed that the Gauls were pretentious like roosters, unlike the noble eagle. Additionally, in Latin, the official Roman language, the words for Gaul and rooster sounded very similar. So Caesar gave the Gauls the nickname of rooster, which was meant to be insulting. However, this nickname was embraced by the optimistic Gauls and became their personified symbol. The Gallic Wars enhanced Caesar's prestige, making him Rome's de facto dictator. These wars also facilitated Rome's transition from republic to empire. After Caesar's death, his nephew Octavian inherited his position and became the Roman emperor. After ascending to power, Octavian began further ruling and culturally transforming Gaul. To weaken local Gallic resistance, Octavian divided Gaul into 4 provinces. Since the Gallic region was fertile land in Western Europe, Octavian directly managed the 3 wealthiest provinces himself to consolidate power. Additionally, Octavian implemented assimilation policies in Gaul, first establishing cities to promote the Roman model. Gallic Celtic leaders became spokespersons for the Roman Empire and developed an affinity for Roman culture. How did they achieve cultural identification? Through the penetration of writing and language. Culturally, the Romans strongly promoted Latin in Gaul. Although the Gauls used Celtic language systems, specifically Gallic, it remained only at the spoken level without developing writing. Ancient Gallic language was gradually replaced by Latin, and the Gauls became Celtic people who spoke Latin. With the rise of numerous cities and the spread of Latin, the Gallic region gradually became Latinized. After conquering Gaul, the Romans continued their expansion, establishing an empire spanning 3 continents: Europe, Asia, and Africa. The high development of the Roman Empire attracted the envy of other barbarian peoples, the Germans and Slavs. After the Gauls and other Celtic peoples were conquered by Rome, the Germans and Slavs became the main threats to the empire's flanks. In the 3rd century CE, the Roman Empire began declining after defeats against Germanic invasions. Some regional governors launched military rebellions, hoping to break away from the Roman Empire and gain independence. In 259 CE, with Gallic support, a Roman general stationed along the Rhine declared himself emperor and established the Gallic Empire, which included Britain, Gaul, and Spain. However, the Gallic Empire only lasted 6 years before being suppressed by Rome. Within the empire, uprisings in Gallic and other regions were constant, making stability costs extremely high. Furthermore, the empire faced invasions from Germanic peoples, Slavs, and other tribal groups. In the 4th century, Christianity became Rome's state religion, and Latin became the only official language for interpreting the Bible. With the officialization of Standard Latin, regional variations emerged. For example, Gallic Latin combined with local languages to form Gallo-Roman Latin. The establishment of Christianity's position did not change the Roman Empire's circumstances. Starting in the 5th century, Germanic tribes launched major invasions of the Gallic region and Italian peninsula. Before the Roman Empire's fall, Gaul had been occupied by multiple Germanic tribes. In 476 CE, the Roman Empire was destroyed by the Germanic Visigoths. By the late 5th century, the Franks, another Germanic people, occupied Gaul, and the Gauls came under Frankish rule. In 496 CE, influenced by the Gauls, the Franks converted to Catholicism, becoming the first Germanic conquerors to embrace Christianity. After several generations of intermarriage between Gauls and Franks, they formed the Western Frankish people, later known as the French. The Frankish culture was relatively weak at the time, so the Franks adopted Gallo-Roman culture and began speaking Gallo-Roman Latin. On the foundation of the Gallo-Romance language family, the Franks and Gauls gradually developed the common language of the Western Frankish region, which became modern French. In 800 CE, Charlemagne established the Frankish Empire through a series of expansions. However, after Charlemagne's death, the Frankish Empire gradually disintegrated. In 843 CE, Charlemagne's 3 grandsons divided the Frankish territories. Gaul was located within West Francia. In 987 CE, the Carolingian dynasty of West Francia ended. Hugh Capet was elected as king of West Francia. Several kings after Hugh Capet used the title King of the Franks. In the 12th century, Philip II of the Capetian dynasty declared himself King of France, using this term for the first time. Thus, France replaced Frank as the name of the Western Frankish state. The name France comes from the Frankish people, a Germanic tribe, meaning the country of the Franks. At this point, Gaul, originally part of Celtic culture, was replaced by the Germanic France, becoming the name of the Western Frankish state. Although the Franks were a Germanic people, the language used in West Francia, French, developed from a combination of Gallic and Latin. In contrast, the language of East Francia, German, developed from Germanic languages. Western European royal houses were all under the control of the Christian Church, with the Bible monopolized by the Church and ecclesiastical power exceeding secular royal authority. Latin was the only universal language for interpreting the Bible and was monopolized by religion. In the 14th century, with the development of commodity economy and trade prosperity, the Renaissance movement opposing the Church swept through Europe, promoting the rise of secular royal power and national languages. In France, French began to replace secular Latin as the common language. The French royal house, supported by nobles, gained the power to interpret the Bible and became France's supreme ruler. However, France remained a predominantly Catholic country. In Catholic culture, the rooster symbolizes vigilance, agility, resurrection, and human justice. Thus, Caesar's mockery of the Gauls transformed during the Renaissance into a national symbol of France. Its image was often placed on weather vanes, particularly after 1648, when France's victory in the 30 Years' War increased its influence on the European continent. During Louis XIV's reign, France became a continental European power. Louis XIV believed that the rooster represented not only unity, but also high vigilance, symbolizing the French people's unity, courage, and wisdom. Thus, the rooster became a cultural symbol of French national identity and a representation of France. In 1789, the French royal house's inability to resolve internal contradictions led to the Great Revolution, and the Bourbon dynasty was overthrown by Republicans. Before the Bourbon dynasty's fall, the French Royal Academy of History considered France's beginning to be the baptism of Frankish King Clovis I in the late 5th century. Republican historians completely rejected the royalist view, asserting that French ancestors traced back to the ancient Gauls. The personified image of the Gallic Rooster was given new meaning as a symbol of French unity and vigilance, becoming beloved and respected by the French people. The French Revolution threatened European monarchies and faced unified opposition from European nations, who repeatedly organized anti-French coalitions to intervene. Facing these invasions, the French people united in resistance. France's situation was very similar to that of the Gauls before and after the Common Era. Historically, the Gauls had repeatedly organized forces against Roman invasion, repeatedly keeping the Romans at bay. The heroic spirit shown by the Gauls in resisting Roman invasion became the French people's spiritual totem in resisting the anti-French coalition. After the victory at the Battle of Valmy in 1792, the Gallic Rooster image was used to represent the nation and people. The rooster's image was incorporated into the First French Republic's coat of arms. Republican historians tracing a French ancestry to the Gauls, along with the Gallic spirit's guidance during the anti-French coalition wars, established French people as descendants of the Gauls as a core symbol of French national identity. In 1830, Greece gained independence from the Ottoman Empire. To this day, Greek still uses the term Gaul to refer to France. In 1870, France's defeat in the Franco-Prussian War and Germany's unified appearance on the European stage severely damaged French national pride. To restore national confidence, in the 1870s, the French government repeatedly proclaimed our ancient Gallic nation to represent France. In 1899, to boost morale, the French government issued 20-franc coins featuring the Gallic Rooster on the reverse. After World War I broke out, France became a main battlefield. Facing German invasion, the Gallic Rooster became the French banner of resistance against German invasion. After both World Wars, the rooster as France's mascot was carved into numerous monuments, becoming a symbol of French national spirit. The Gallic Rooster symbol is also applied in French daily life. For example, famous French brand logos often feature the rooster, such as the sports brand Le Coq Sportif and the famous film company Pathé. Their logos all include the rooster. Today, the rooster stands atop the spire of the iconic Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris and the French presidential residence, the Élysée Palace. In sports, particularly football and rugby, the French national team incorporates the rooster into its team emblem. France has become one of the few European countries to use the rooster as its totem.